Africa is considered the poorest continent on Earth. Civil wars never end here, cannibalistic dictators come to power. The people here are hungry, thirsty, and sick.
They don't bath here. There's no water anywhere close to here.
But there are people in Africa who suffer even more than others. They are black sheep here, except they are actually white.
He has to go to the hospital right now.
Today we'll talk about people with albinism living in Africa. Like this video and leave your comments so more people know about it.
Here they believe that the birth of an albino baby is something mystical. They start searching for a reason. Either the mother was involved with a white man. That's what they used to think at first. Or the family is cursed. Where does this belief come from? You know, all these voodoo practitioners, marabouts, it's very common in Africa, especially in Senegal. If you want to be successful, or if you want to recover from a disease, you have to make a sacrifice. Sometimes they sacrifice an animal, other times, an albino baby. For example, they sacrifice albinos to win elections.
We trust our neighbors. All young people know that after a warning cry, we must block the whole area and search for those who are trying to steal albino babies. In 2012, during the presidential election, a black car came here and it stopped next to kids playing football. One of the kids noticed it and raised the alarm. All the youngsters ran to the car, caught one of the passengers, and he confessed to coming for an albino. He had an order. It was very common to cut albinos' heads during that election.
In case you didn't get it, they hunted people with albinism before elections in order to win the elections. Yes, in Senegal, albinos are believed to have something magical. So people will cut albinos' heads if this magic will help them. Local beliefs in magic powers add to the list of problems that albinos face in Africa. For example, according to the New Humanitarian in 2008 in Tanzania, at least 36 people with albinism were killed for their body parts to be used in witch doctor potions. National Geographic reports that limbs, genitals, ears, tongues, and the nose of an albino altogether can cost up to $75,000. But before we dive into the life of albino people in Africa, we should understand what albinism is. In general, albinism occurs in all racial and ethnic groups. 1 in 17,000 people is said to have albinism. However, statistically, populations throughout sub-Saharan Africa are more prone to it. 1 in 5,000 babies is born with albinism there. In Zimbabwe, it is said to be as high as 1 in 1,000. At the same time, the level of healthcare in most African countries isn't high enough to care for people with albinism. According to Reuters, majority of African albinos die from skin cancer before they turn 40. Albino children suffer the most. Most parents in Senegal simply don't know how to take good care of them. This leads to serious consequences. Mila says that parents' lack of education is the main problem. They just don't realize that UV light is deadly to their kids, and they can't stay outside without sunscreen. This is their village. They don't have electricity. There's a mosque in the center of the village. It's the prettiest building around, and the only one fully painted. A small one-story mosque. This is what a local house looks like on the inside. There's a bunch of posters of the local religious leaders. Now this is really curious. The only available decoration for a house here is this embroidered coral cloth, an incredibly beautiful ceiling. Wow, unbelievable! Again, a ton of portraits. They even have a big bed here. This is where they cook. It's a typical African kitchen. You'll see something like this in many other African countries. While women are working, this dude is chilling. And you can see, he who doesn't work lives in a straw house. There are 4 albino kids living here. The village is super remote. There are no good roads here. There's no electricity. People lead primitive lifestyles here. So obviously nobody takes care of them. And they don't take proper care of their children. Only when some NGOs or international organizations come here, they teach locals how to treat kids with albinism. There aren't many options. So you see, these kids' only real chance of survival is being placed in some shelters or specialized centers where they can receive proper care, because clearly they can't receive it here.
Albino children need special care, but their parents don't understand it. His hands look like old man's hands, like chicken feet. They don't understand. They don't know what to do. They think these kids can play outside like all the other kids. Education is the most important thing. Then comes nutrition and health care. But education is the first. Parents have to understand that these children are special. They have to stay indoors all day. I see a lot of kids like this in villages around here. When there's an emergency, we take them to the hospital or we call an ambulance. He needs to be taken to a dermatologist. He can't be left here for more than a week.
And then what's next?
If we leave it like this, it will turn into cancer. I'll show you a guy. He's now in Dakar. With half of his face missing, he has been treated for 8 months. He was nearing his end. Cancer took half of his face, and they die. They live up to 5 years, no older.
Do they go to school?
Yes, they go to school, the one that we saw there.
The one over there?
Yes,
How long does it take them to walk there?
around an hour.
1 hour?
Yes.
Do they go to school every day?
Yes, from Monday to Friday.
Okay. And how many hours do they spend at school? I mean, albinos.
They are at school from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock.
And how many kids go to school altogether?
We have 8 villages here, so around 300 kids.
300 kids.
Yes.
In one day, they go to that school?
Yes, but they don't have enough space, so the smaller ones, they stay in the primary school. Others, the big ones, they walk 5 miles to the college.
Those albino kids, do they go to primary school?
Yes, they go to primary school.
To facilitate at least a little the life of people with albinism in Africa, NGOs build specialized centers for them. Mila Anufrieva runs one of them. In the 90s, she brought clothes of trendy brands to Russia and organized fashion shows. In the 21st century, she went bankrupt and was diagnosed with cancer. After beating cancer, she found herself in Africa, where she started helping albinos. This past year, she has been living in Senegal, where she's building a center for people with albinism.
We are in Thies. A specialized center for children with albinism is being built here. For children living in harsh environment or those who live in dangerous conditions. This is the first center for people with albinism in West Africa. This is a very important initiative that aims to show people why Thies. Because the president of the albinos of Senegal and West Africa is based here, and he does a lot of meetings with journalists, trying to raise awareness about the problems of albinos. So, at least local people begin to understand what this condition is. Everyone knows that Thies is a place where they speak a lot about albinos. They understand here that albinos are people just like us. So, under the supervision of the albino president, we've decided to build the center here. The center will host 150 children. I'd say 100. There will also be rooms for volunteers and doctors. We will also host cancer patients here, because they need a place to stay before they are admitted to the hospital. Now we are renting rooms for them in Dakar. It will be like a transit point for those patients. Children should go to school. They can't go to regular schools. Parents don't have money to feed their children. Usually it's poor women that come here, either because her husband left or because she has too many kids and can't afford food for all of them.
Skincare is one of the main problems of people with albinism in Senegal. Sunscreen is hardly accessible here. There are few pharmacies selling it, and it is very expensive for the locals. Non-profit organizations are trying to solve this problem by establishing camps where albinos can get education, food, and health care. But not all Senegalese albinos have access to this kind of assistance.
What are we giving out again?
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen for albinos. And something to eat.
Yes, rice and oil, the essentials. These are the essentials.
West Africa is not as dangerous for albinos as Tanzania or Zimbabwe, but it doesn't mean they can live a normal life here. People go so far as to believe albinism is contagious. That's why people hold their noses when they see an albino and refuse to sit next to them on public transport. People with albinism face a lot of insults and assaults. Kids drop out of school because of bullying. Adults struggle to find a job.
When I was little, I met some men that asked me to give them some of my hair. I said, sure, take some if you want. This is what I was facing as a kid.
There's another belief here. If an albino sells something, people are scared to buy it. They say you can become albino too if you buy something from them. There's a lot of mystery around them here. So far, in the whole continent of Africa, there's nobody helping them. Why nobody is helping them? People believe that by helping albinos, they will become cursed. People here live by all these beliefs. And I always ask people from the United States, from other countries, listen, do Black Lives Matter activists even know what is going on in Africa? How do people with albinism live here? They are also Africans. They are just of a different color.
I heard that a lot of people in Africa are after our children's hair because having some albino hair is believed to make one rich. A lot of people believe it. We do all we can to protect our children.
Assistance of charitable organizations is especially important for the most vulnerable groups in Africa, women and children.
This is a Muslim country, so in any case, women have less. Men can at least go to work. You see, most women here don't have husbands because husbands saw the challenge and decided to leave. And women are left alone with kids. Of course, they can't leave their kids. There's a woman with 2 kids over there. She had 2 babies. One of them was an albino. Her husband saw it, packed his stuff, and left for Mali. She never saw him again, nor did she receive any help from him. I asked her, "So how do you get by then?" She said, "I wash people's clothes, or I do ironing for them. That's the only work I can get. No one wants us in their house. And I can't leave my kids alone. I don't have electricity at home, and barely any food. I came here to take some so I can survive another month, to feed my children for another month." You see, women take responsibilities. It's harder for them to get a job. Basically, they can't get any job. Add this whole mystical vibe around albinos. That makes them feel insecure. They need psychological help to cope with it. They have to be rediscovered, so to say, because they are just as beautiful, as smart, like all the other women. Does she want her baby to be placed in the center that we are building now?
Yes.
She will have to leave him here?
Yes.
So it's like an orphanage?
Kind of. More like a kindergarten, because they can take their children for weekends.
Like a boarding school?
Yeah, because they can't take proper care of them at home. Don't forget that they are all jobless. Taking care of these kids is not easy at all. They need to be treated. They need a lot of medicines.
Being an albino yourself is easier than have an albino kid because it's really difficult to look after them. They constantly need sunscreen, otherwise they suffer and cry.
I have 3 children and only one of them is albino. When he was born, I had no idea on how to take care of him. He had a lot of wounds. I didn't know what to do. Bamba's association helped me. They explained how I should take care of my son. We even went to Dakar several times to treat his wounds. The biggest problem is his physical disability. He has a lot of health issues and that scares me.
I was lucky because I gave birth at home, so no one could deny it was my baby. If I had given birth in the hospital, my family would have said there was a mistake.
Most people with albinism in Africa die young. However, with proper care, they can live as long as others. They can even become matriarchs of their villages.
My name is Amin Bai, and I am 72 years old. I am engaged in agriculture. Every day, I work in the garden. Also, I am a Murd. That's why I live so long.
Yes, most albinos don't get to live long, but I was blessed by our religious leader. He hugged me when I was little, and that protected me. I almost never have skin issues. I use our regular sunscreen, that's all. If I spend too much time in the garden, I may get some wounds that need treatment.
In Africa, people depend more on their families than in developed countries. It's much harder to survive alone here. Family support is particularly important for people with albinism.
I didn't expect to give birth to an albino baby. I praised God for my baby being born alive, and I accepted it. I started taking care of him. I have 7 children, but only 2 of them are albinos. When they were born, I didn't know how to take care of them. I treated them like all my other kids.
I'd like to become a volunteer one day to help other people with this condition. I believe that God only gives us what's ours. Sometimes that's a lot, sometimes not.
Albinism is not only a serious health condition, it's also a test on how we can accept people who look different. I hope the viewers of this video don't discriminate people for their ethnicity, religion, social class, or skin color.